votes earlier, no votes. We didn't have any votes after 11:05, and they didn't tell us till 5, so I didn't get in here until 11:30.
That is one thing that irritates me about what we do is we can't keep up.
You know, there was one speaker, Tiffany, who's a family, and he said, you know, I'm going to make sure that everyone participates. And then we always knew we were going to adjourn at a certain time on a Thursday or Friday.
Yeah,
Just to make sure we got everybody. Okay, they're all.
that's good. That could be a good thing to do.
Yeah, I just found her.
Did Tom make it out?
And
You know, have any idea?
No, but I'll bet you he
Would Attorney General Miller please move to the front of the room?
Council Bluffs with a hearing on education. Oh, he's got a whole series of hearings this weekend. He's Saturday and Sunday. He's already done tonight. The Secretary of Education.
Oh, I did know about that. Sunday, yeah.
Yeah. And Cedar Rapids and Des Moines on Sunday, but I think Council Bluffs today, and maybe Davenport today.
Okay.
Well, today's Friday. No, some of that's Friday.
Well, I want to first of all welcome all to this meeting and workshop this morning. I want to thank Rob Denson and the folks at DMAC for giving us this tremendous facility to operate in. And Rob, it's good to see you. And thanks for all that DMAC is doing for the young people who are in the community college. I want to thank all who are here today. It's a great turnout. And I also want to thank the over 15,000 people who have already commented as a result of the announcement of these workshops. We will have a total of 5 workshops throughout the country. May 21st, we will be meeting in Normal, Alabama to talk about poultry. On June 7th, we'll be in Madison, Wisconsin to talk about the dairy industry. In August 26th, we'll be in Fort Collins, Colorado to talk about livestock, and December 8th, we'll be in Washington, D.C. to talk about margins. We are certainly pleased and appreciative of the fact that Senator Grassley and Congressman Boswell, Lieutenant Governor Judge, Secretary Northey are here, and Attorney General Miller for their time, but we're very, very appreciative of the fact that the Attorney General of the United States is here, and I'll have more to say about him in just a few minutes. And I also want to welcome Christine Varney, who is an Assistant Attorney General for the Antitrust Division. Let me start off by saying how deeply concerned I am about rural America. When I was born in 1950, 15% of the population of this country were in the farming business. And today, less than 1% of our population is in the farming business. Our farmers in this country are the most productive in the world. In 1950, a single farmer would be responsible for feeding 20 people. Today, that number is a single farmer responsible for feeding 150 people. These are the individuals who are responsible for our food, our water, an ever-increasing amount of energy, an export surplus, and 1 out of every 12 jobs in America. Despite that extraordinary productivity, only 11% of family farm income comes from farming operations. We have seen a significant reduction in the number of farmers in the middle. Our last ag census indicated 108,000 new farming operations in the category of less than $10,000 in sales, an increase in the number of farms with over $500,000 of sales of about 40,000, but a loss of 80,000 farms in the middle in the last 5 years. And when we lose farms in the middle, it also impacts directly the entire rural economy. Today's rural America has a higher poverty rate than the rest of the country, a higher unemployment rate than the rest of the country, significantly less per capita income than the rest of the country, an aging population, a workforce that is less educated, and well over 50% of our rural counties have lost population since the last census. The President has instructed the Department of Agriculture to establish a framework for a new rural economy, and we're making investments in broadband, in new energy opportunities, creating new markets here and abroad, developing ecosystem markets, and expanding conservation and forest restoration, all designed to provide us additional income for our farm families. But it's obvious that more needs to be done, and that's what brings us here today. I think we have to recognize that great efficiencies have led to consolidation. They've also resulted in less expensive food for consumers in this country. So the central question is, are farmers and ranchers in this country currently getting a fair shake? Is the marketplace providing a fair deal to all who are in the farming and ranching business? Is there sufficient transparency in the process? We know that seed companies control, in some cases, the lion's share of certain commodities. Does that help or does that hinder farmers and ranchers? We know that the top 4 cattle packers control roughly 80% of procurement. The spot market in cattle was 68% in 1999. Today it's roughly 52%. We know the top 4 hog packers control 65% of procurement. Today's spot market is only 8%, where just 15 years ago it was 62%. We know the top 4 retailers control 37% of the market, 2 times what it was in 1992. So the purpose of these workshops is to explore, to determine whether or not the system is fair. I would say that these are workshops that have been long overdue. I know that there have been many in this room who have expressed to me the need for this kind of conversation and discussion. Our hope is that they help us to inform and develop better policy. As you know, the Department of Agriculture is responsible for the enforcement of the Packers and Stockyards Act. We recently have made improvements in poultry contracting. We're in the process of completing work on defining undue preferences and unfair practices pursuant to the Farm Bill. We're adding additional enforcement mechanisms within the Packers and Stockyards Act. We're looking at new credit tools to ensure that poultry and pork producers are treated fairly. We've established a dairy advisory committee to look at dairy pricing, and we're preparing for the Farm Bill discussions of 2012. All of those actions can be informed by what we hear today and over the course of the next several meetings. I want to take this opportunity to introduce to my friends from Iowa, my friend from Washington, D.C., the Attorney General of the United States. I think it's fair to say that the Attorney General is no stranger to Iowa, having spent a good deal of time campaigning on behalf of President Obama in this state. He is a key confidant of the President's. He is and has been a U.S. Attorney, a Superior Court judge, a Deputy Attorney General, and now the Attorney General of the United States. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you, General, to my great state and to the people who are obviously very interested in what we're going to do here today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Attorney General of the United States. Eric.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Secretary Vilsack. It's good to be with you, and it's great to be back in this beautiful state, your beautiful home state. As the Secretary indicated, I had a chance to spend a good deal of time here during the President's campaign. And I think that's when the people of this great state taught me and proved to me and proved to our entire nation that no matter how improbable the goal or how difficult the task, there's simply no better place to begin than right here in Iowa. I have to tell you that when I was here during the campaign, I was drawing crowds as large as 3. So things have changed a little bit. But today, I've returned for what I know will be another learning opportunity. And I really want to stress that, a learning opportunity. As I stand here, or as I sit here, I'm reminded of President Eisenhower's observation. I think this is a great quote. Farming looks mighty easy when your plow is a pencil and you're 1,000 miles away from the cornfield. Dwight Eisenhower, great words. Those words, I think, remain true today. And in the decades since he spoke them, the challenges that face farmers and other leaders across our agriculture industry have become even more difficult. And that's why we have gathered here for this historic discussion. And it really is historic. I'm glad to see that so many of you are here. And I want to thank the people of Ankeny for hosting this milestone event. Now, I don't use the word milestone lightly. I mean, I really don't. It's been more than a century since the Sherman Antitrust Act became law, and nearly 90 years since the Packers and Stockyard Act entered the books. In that time, not once have our nation's departments of justice and agriculture come together for a public discussion on competition and regulatory issues in your industry. Not once have farmers, ranchers, processors, consumer groups, economists, and antitrust attorneys joined to share their perspectives on issues of competition and regulation, issues that you all understand best. But today, in this room, that is exactly what is happening and what is going to happen. And it's what will happen in similar rooms across the country in the coming months, as the Secretary indicated. These workshops, I think, are an opportunity for all of us. And I believe they will provide each of us with a more complete understanding of an industry that has been at the core of the American economy ever since there was an American economy. The workshops, I think, also reflect the Justice Department's renewed commitment to collaboration, to transparency, and to results. Now, while our top priority must remain the protection of our national security, we cannot and we will not neglect our responsibility to safeguard and to strengthen the American economy. If we fail to defend America's position in the global marketplace, if we neglect our duty to fight for prosperity, growth, and opportunity to return, we risk, in a different way, the security of our country and the safety of our people. We recognize this, and that quite simply is not an option. Now, we all know that one of the greatest threats to our economy is the erosion of free competition in our markets. We have a great Assistant Attorney General, the person who runs the Antitrust Division in the United States Department of Justice, sitting to my right, Christine Varney. She's as tough as they come. She is as aggressive as they come. She's as knowledgeable as they come. She has done a great job so far, and I think we can expect even greater things from her. The President chose well in making her the Assistant Attorney General. We've learned the hard way that recessions and long periods of reckless deregulation can foster practices that are anti-competitive and even illegal. So we have to ask, is today's agriculture industry suffering from a lack of free and fair competition in the marketplace? I think that's the central question. Now, to answer this question, we must begin by examining what we know for sure. We know that a growing number of American farmers find it increasingly difficult to survive by doing what they have been doing for decades. And we've learned that some of them believe that the competitive environment may be, at least in part, to blame. The Justice Department, as well as the USDA, and this entire administration is committed to protecting competition very, very vigorously. But I also recognize that the enforcement of the antitrust laws, while critical, does not really fully address the concerns of many agricultural industry leaders and stakeholders. That's why we're partnering with the USDA to benefit from its deep expertise in your industry and hopefully to share ours on the broader regulatory issues that are potentially at play. That's also why we're engaging directly with all of you, to listen, to learn, and to determine the best ways to ensure fairness and encourage success. Now, as we evaluate and as we develop policy, we want to hear from you. In fact, when we announced these workshops late last year, we also issued a call for your comments and for your recommendations. And so far, the response has really been tremendous. To date, we have received more than 15,000 comments. And I'm grateful that so many of you have contributed to this extraordinary example of government public engagement at its best. Not only must we keep up this work, we must expand this work. Together, I believe we can address the 21st century challenges in the agriculture industry and the challenges that you face. Now, I'm certain that we can honor and preserve your industry's essential role in our economy, as well as our culture, our livelihood, and our global standing. Those are the goals that we have. Your participation here gives me great hope that we can accomplish together a great deal in the days and months ahead. Secretary Vilsack and I look forward to hearing from you and to working with you. Thank you very much.
General, thank you very much.